Okay, in this video we're going to talk about graphing perfect competition where we have a change in variable costs. And the way that I'm going to do this video is I'm going to start in long-run equilibrium, and then we're going to have a change in these costs, and we'll have the costs increase. That's going to give us a situation where our costs have gone up, but the price has not gone up by as much, so we are going to end up with losses. And then we're going to graph what's going to happen as we transition from the short run to the long run. When there are economic losses, firms are going to exit and the price is going to increase back to a long run equilibrium. So what I'm going to do to begin is just continue graphing and setting up my long run equilibrium. And it's always good to practice this. Most questions that you're going to see are going to start from long run equilibrium. That's going to be my market quantity, where the quantity supplied is the same as the quantity demanded. That's also going to give me the price. I'll call it $M, and I'm going to take my price over because all these individual firms are going to be price takers. And this is going to be my marginal revenue, my demand curve, my average revenue, and my price, Mr. DARP. I have my marginal cost curve coming down like a check mark and then back up. And because I'm in a, well, let me start this with where MR equals MC, that's always going to be where my quantity is. And that doesn't matter if we have profits, losses, economic profits, if we're a monopoly, if we're in something called monopolistic competition, if it's perfectly competitive, we are always operating where MR equals MC. So I've done that. And because we're going to start in long run equilibrium, I'm going to have my average total cost curve come down and meet those other 2 points and then come back up. Remember, my average total cost curve needs to touch the marginal cost curve at its lowest point. So currently, I'm in long run equilibrium and all is good so far. If there is a situation where you have a change in your variable costs, like I do here, that means that the cost to make each additional, in this case boat, the cost to make each additional boat is going to increase. And so just to differentiate, let's say you've got your boat building factory. Those fixed costs are going to be one thing, but if as the case is with this homework assignment, if the fiberglass is more expensive, that means that the cost to make each new boat is going to be more now because the price of the fiberglass has gone up, or the cost of the fiberglass has gone up. So when you have a change in variable costs, it costs you more to make each new unit. So what I'm going to have is I'm going to have an increase in my average total cost. So average total cost is going to go up. Average fixed cost, which we don't really care about right now, that's not going to change. Average variable cost will go up because the fiberglass is going to be a variable cost. And the most important one here is that the marginal cost also goes up. So when you have a change in your variable costs, marginal cost goes up, average total cost goes up, and average variable goes up. But we're not going to worry about average variable right now. So the ones that we are most concerned with are average total and our marginal cost. And graphing this is actually very, very, very important. What I'm going to do is I'm going to have an increase in my marginal cost. I'll draw that part first. And I'm going to try and keep it pretty close to my current marginal cost. So the marginal cost to shift up here is now more expensive. And that means that my average total cost has gone up as well. And I'm going to try and keep the dollar amounts the same. What I mean by that is my goal here is to have this vertical distance be consistent here. That's what I'm looking for. So let's see if I can do that again with my average total cost. Start it down here, maybe hit it there on my lowest point and then come back up. Something like that. I want you to try your best. So in this case, what I've got is this sort of increase here in light blue should be about the same as my increase here. That's kind of what I'm looking to do. So what I'm going to have to do now, if I think about this, if my costs have gone up, if fiberglass has gone up by $3, what that now means is that my marginal revenue curve is crossing my marginal cost curve at a lower quantity. And I can see that here. My marginal costs are now higher. Let me change this to MC1 and ATC1. So my new marginal cost curve intersects my original marginal revenue curve right here. And that means right now, because of these costs, I have a decrease in quantity. Remember, so I am a profit maximizing industry, profit maximizing firm, and this is going to be the output where I maximize my profits. and I've got quite a significant loss here just going straight up to my average total cost curve. But because I'm decreasing my quantities, and let's assume that all the individual firms have the same cost as I do, if everything is more expensive and I'm reducing my quantity, that means everybody else is reducing their quantities as well. And so this is the part where rulers are super helpful. This vertical distance that I've got in light blue, I want that to be exactly the same. So I'm just looking here, going from this point straight up to this point, almost gets me to the top of that next graph paper line. So I'm going to look to have my supply curve make that exact same vertical shift. So it's going to go like almost all the way up. So it's going to be something like something like right there. So I'm going to have a new supply curve that's going to go through that tiny little light blue point. It's going to look something like this. I'm going to call this S1. So what has gone on here is that the vertical distance should be the same for everybody as it is for me. So the price of fiberglass has gone up by $3, so supply is going to shift, and my cost curves are all going to shift by the exact same amount. And that part's important here for this very reason. My new market quantity has gone down because an input price is now more expensive, so that makes sense. That's going to shift supply to the left, and that will reduce quantity. It's going to increase my price. This is the part where this matters, though. We're price takers, and we're going to take our new price all the way across, but you'll see that my new price is less. The increase, I'll say it this way, the increase in my new price is smaller than my increase in costs. And so what I'm left with, and I know this graph is getting busy now, but what I'm left with is a short run loss. Before I go too far, I want to highlight one additional thing now. With this new price, I've got a new price and now a new quantity. So this is currently, I'll say this QF2. This is my new profit maximizing quantity. Now, because my demand curve has gone up by a smaller amount, I'm going to have a loss. And so this rectangle here represents my total quantity. My total revenue, I should say. This purple rectangle is my total revenue, but this light blue rectangle, if I go all the way up to my cost curve, which is right there, this light blue area is going to represent my total cost. So what's going on now is that I've got losses because my total cost is greater than my total revenue. My light blue is greater, I'll do it this way, I'll underline them, light blue is greater than the purple. So given that, I need to see what's going to happen in the long run. We've got economic losses here. Let's see if I can erase most of this. We have economic losses. And so what's going to happen is firms are going to exit the industry. And that's how we get back to our long-run equilibrium. Our cost curves have increased by more than the price. And so we are now faced with losses. So what will happen now? Firms are going to exit the market, and I'm going to end up with a new, and I'm going to cheat and put this in backwards, I'm going to end up with a new firm demand curve that's going to go right through all three of those. So this is going to be MR2, and it's going to be at this price here at the demand curve, where my supply curve is going to shift twice to S2. So now I can finish things off with a QM2, an even smaller quantity at an even higher price. And now we're back at long run equilibrium. And check this out, where all three of these lines meet, I'll call this QF3. And I know it's getting very busy here. But just to back up for a second, and I want to make sure that this part is clear. What happened was when we went from S to S1, that was because of a change in variable costs. But when we went from S1 to S2, when the supply fell again, that was because firms exited the market. firms exited the industry, I'll say. And the big part here is going to be that the costs increase by a greater amount than the price increase. So in the short run, you were left with economic losses. And I understand that this gets very busy, especially down here. And so oftentimes AP questions won't make you graph all of this or answer questions with these specifics. But if you're able to graph this, you're going to be able to do anything in this unit.